Is the Clarksville City Council executive session dated November 29th, 2022. We have several items on our agenda, but before we begin, or as we begin, let me recognize Councilperson-elect Deanna McLaughlin in Ward 2. Councilperson-elect, if you'll stand up and let's congratulate her on her world tour and return engagement. First item on the agenda is a presentation. I asked Ms. Lori Matta, our Chief Financial Officer, to give us a presentation on the parking, commission parking status update, as it says on the agenda. She's got a brief presentation she'll present to us that she did to the Finance Committee just the other day, and that's before we get into the Planning Commission report. So, Ms. Matta, you are recognized.
Good evening. I will try and make it brief, but very informative for you. So at last week's meeting, actually 2 weeks ago now, Parking Commission meeting, they asked me if I would give an update to council on how they're doing. Since parking was such a hot topic and there was so much questions about the ability of them to build the garage and afford to pay for the garage, they've been working very hard for this past year or so, and they wanted me to go over all the great things that they've accomplished and how much better things are looking already. So I want to go over that with you. I want to go over briefly the financial updates. I don't want to bore you with numbers, but about the new parking garage, the rehabilitation of the Cumberland garage, and then the debt issuance on that as well. So here, just quickly, so that everybody understands the difference between an authority and a commission. When we redid our charter in 2015, the parking authority went away and we created the parking commission. The real difference between an authority and a commission is the authority has supervisory and management responsibility over the parking function and the employees. The commission does not. The commission has very limited powers, and it keeps the parking fund under the direction of the mayor, like every other fund in every other department of the city. So basically, in a nutshell, the three things that the commission can do is they establish regulations, including the penalties, they establish rates, and they make recommendations for policy changes. So parking, some of the changes that they made, and I think we made that were quite a few improvements from the accounting and the fund standpoint. In FY22, we moved the parking function from management of the Finance and Revenue Department to the Building Facilities Maintenance Department. I'm just going to be super honest here. Under Finance, you had a whole bunch of accountants attempting to run the parking fund. It really wasn't a good fit. Now they're under a department that's focused on parking. So it also, in FY23, we decided to uncomplicate the financials. They were unnecessarily complicated, moving funds from one department to another. We just stuck everything parking in the parking fund. So it's all in one place, all their revenues and their expenses are in one place. Under the new and improved parking commission and new management, they've worked hard to make improvements to their rate structure and how they operate. They changed their meters and the kiosks, and they've implemented a new parking app that even tells tax rate payers when their time is running out, so that they can put more money on their meters. The staff has also implemented new enforcement software, and going forward, this is going to help us with collections. So here's the new rates that the Parking Commission has established. On-street meters only take coins, but Parker can also use the on-street app, the Park Mobile, in order to pay with a credit card if they don't have coins. The kiosks take credit cards and coins, and the kiosks are located on the flat surface lot outside the courthouse, and they can also use the Park Mobile app there as well. They don't have to use the kiosk. We have many flat surface lots and parking garages that people can rent spaces on a monthly basis. They have to renew their permit monthly on that, but all of it can be done online or through that Park Mobile app. We also increased some obstruction permits And those are when people are blocking the spaces because of construction or they have to park work vehicles there that pay for those. So there's new rate structure for that. This is just a snapshot of the city's website for the Park Mobile app. And I just wanted to let you know everything parking is available on our website, and it actually shows you how to download the app and how to use the app. It's all right there. There's an instructional video as well. So the Parking Commission requested a parking study be performed. The last one that was done here was the Desmond study in 2009. So the Commission's goal for the study is to recommend and or map out the footprint of the Parking Commission, or what it should be. Recommendations on rates, recommend operational performance and efficiencies that can be gained. The BFM director, Mikey Palmore, along with purchasing, issued an RFQ, request for qualifications, in October for a parking consultant. We received 4 responses. The members of the review committee will be the Parking Commission, and also Brad Martin will be the other party on to be reviewing these RFQs. Brad, if you don't know him, he's very involved in downtown, in growing downtown and designing, and he's also designing the Performing Arts Center. On December 5th, the committee that's reviewing these RFQs will provide their independently reviewed scoring assessments of the RFQ to Mikey. He'll compile those, and we'll select from there some candidates, the top qualified candidates, to come in and give a presentation to the committee. After that, the committee, from those presentations, the committee will make a decision on who to start negotiations first. This is an RFQ. They are not based on cost, and there's no need, they don't have to pick one and award. You start negotiations with your favorite one at that point. Okay, so parking finances. Just a little overview again, since it's such a hot topic, we thought it was important to show you everything that's happened. The Parking Commission is operated as an enterprise fund. It's still a fund under the city, still under the mayor's direction. The monies are just kept separately so that nobody no taxpayer money is going to fund parking operations, and no parking money is going to fund funded departments like police or fire. The parking assets are kept separately from all the other assets of the city. Depreciation is often thought, well, it's not cash, so it doesn't matter. Well, it does, because in an enterprise fund, when they buy an asset like the kiosks, it never shows them as an expense to their fund, except in depreciation. It just becomes an asset. The cash goes out, but it's never expensed. So that's what depreciation does. It expenses the life of the asset across all the years. So that's important that we still show those on our financials. Responsibilities of an enterprise fund, they should be self-supporting. There is one exception about self-supporting, and that's our transit fund. And even though they're an enterprise fund, transit is funded largely with federal and state dollars that have mandatory matches from local governments, so they can't be independently funded. But enterprise funds are like CDE, gas and water. They fund themselves, and they're required to fund themselves. If an enterprise fund needs to issue debt, it has to be guaranteed by the assets that they have are going to generate the funds to repay the debt, which again is the same as CDE and gas and water. I monitor the financials of all the funds. I receive them each month and go over them. With parking, the only difference is I actually present their financials as well to the Parking Commission each month. So here's the financials, and it's really, really tiny. This is FY21, and this is when things were getting a little difficult. They had a loss of $16,249. I know it's extremely small, but it was a loss. They were not operating efficiently, and there was a loss. So FY22, which is now, we just finished, these are unaudited financials. We're still having them audited at this point, but it actually shows a profit, $3,739. Still small, but it's going in the right direction. Okay, this is 4 months of the fiscal year. So this is July 1st to October 31st, and it's already a much better financial position. It's showing a profit of $91,400 in just 4 months. So they're on the right track. It's showing that the changes that they made are working. So now we'll talk a little bit about parking garages. So this one, the new parking garage, in 2018, when parking function was under my direction, I, in conjunction with purchasing, issued an RFQ. Again, it was a request for qualifications to seek qualified companies to design, build, and manage, or any combination thereof. We requested their recommendations. We received 4 responses. Based on the qualifications, including expertise in building parking garages, we selected TRC Construction out of Nashville to begin negotiations with. While there have been many iterations and discussions, we have continued negotiations with TRC throughout the entire 4 years. The new garage is planned on the corner of First Street and Commerce. It's planned to have 587 spaces and connect to the Cumberland garage. Additionally, there's a pedestrian bridge that connects it to Franklin Street that's planned along with the new Performing Arts Center. They hope to begin construction the very beginning of 2023, like right as begins, and complete early in 2024. If we finish negotiations with them, they're contractually obligated to finish the garage within a specific time frame, so they'll meet those deadlines. We are currently awaiting the final pricing and the final plans. We expect to have them within the next week or so, at which time we continue with the negotiations. Provisions are being discussed to provide EV stations within the garage. Now the Cumberland garage. So this one's located at 133 Commerce Street. It has 274 parking spaces. The plan is to start the rehabilitation project of this garage in 2024 once the new garage is completed. And this is because we have to shut down the Cumberland, so we need to have replacement parking while that one's shut down, while they work on this one. This one, we will continue negotiations with TRC Construction on this one as well, as it was included in the RFQ that was issued in 2018 as well. So the debt. Financing of the garage is through debt issuance that was previously approved by council, and we issued in 2022, we issued $50 million worth of debt, which a large portion of that was for the garages. The current budgets are $20 million for the new garage and $6.1 million for the Cumberland garage rehabilitation. The estimated debt service payments on both of those, based on the budget, because we don't have actual numbers yet, are $1.3 million for the new garage, $400,000 for the Cumberland garage, so a total of $1.7 million a year. These are estimates because we don't have those final costs. So this, you don't have to look at all the numbers, it's just an amortization schedule, and it's how to repay the parking for that debt. The debt was issued, like I said, in 2022, and the rate that we issued the debt at was 2.708% over 20 years. Once the garage is completed, then I would have the actual costs of the garage and the rehabilitation of the Cumberland garage. And at that point, I would create a new amortization schedule based on actual costs. We did not issue revenue bonds because, like I mentioned, they would not have qualified for that because you have to prove that you have the revenues to support that debt in order for people to want to buy your bonds. When I do this amortization schedule for parking at a later date, it will be structured so they can afford it. There's a concept called the ability to bear, that I'll be able to structure it like kind of like a student loan, where they expect you to not make as much money when you first get out of school, but later on you're going to make more, so your payments can escalate. We can structure it something like that so that it's affordable for the parking fund. Do you have any questions?
Okay, any questions for Ms. Matta? Seeing none, you'll distribute that to council for us?
Yes, I will.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. We're now ready for the Planning Commission, that commission. Mr. Tyndall, you're recognized.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As we pull up the slides here. There we go.
All right, you recognize
All right.
Mr. Tyndall. The first item is ordinance 52, 2022-23.
Indeed, this is Planning Commission case number Z79 2022. The applicant is Arthur Parchman and the agent is Colt Milam. This is 3.06 acres, currently zoned C2, requesting to go to R6. It is an extension of the R6. It's a tract located at the northwest corner of Cumberland Drive and Charlotte Street. This is in City Council Ward number 6. It's an irregular shaped tract with a commercial structure used as a sign company, and the applicant's statement is to provide a single-family infill development. And you can see there's some older C2 down in the bottom there. And I say bottom, if you've driven Cumberland Drive, you'll know where this is right when you get to the bottom, and then it hooks around to the left down there. This is looking back toward the city. The buildings on the left would be removed. The car lot would, however, stay. So those buildings are subject to this zoning case. And then the car lot here coming from the other direction, the city is at your back here to downtown. The car lot is not part of this application. It would stay C2. This is Charlotte Street. It's quite a narrow street. Not a lot of homes on it. There was a R6 development. I think we have there it is. There's an R6 development from just about 2 or 3 years ago on one side of the street. This application is on this side of the guide rail on the other side of the street. So nearby R6, right up the street. There is some terrain. I believe we showed you that. Here's an example. This is looking from Charlotte Street down to Cumberland. So there's some terrain issues with this property. So the applicant's been told by the street department that sidewalks will be required. They need to relocate a storm pipe that's on the property, and they're only going to be allowed one access point to Cumberland Drive. If access from Charlotte Street, roadway improvements will be required, and no street cuts on Cumberland Drive due to access utilities. So they have some access issues they're going to have to work out, likely use an alley system or something like that as they develop it, and they've been made aware of that. There's also drainage concerns defined as an upstream issue, and there's a possibility that development could improve this by reestablishing the ditches along the road and the edge of pavement. You can also see the school system comments of note. Staff does recommend approval. The proposed zoning is consistent with the land use plan. The proposed R6 single-family residential zone is not out of character with the surrounding development pattern and is consistent with the R6 zoning request in the South Clarksville planning area. The property has been identified as having environmental constraints, which is one factor necessitated creating the R6 classification. A drainage concern has been identified in the area and will be required to be addressed during the development or subdivision stage. The R6 zoning classification reduces the intensity of uses and mixed use potential of the C2 zoning classification. Residential uses such as mass transit and other retail are in the area. The adopted land use plan indicates that it's encouraged to maintain a desirable mix of housing types, and sidewalks will be required. Any roadway improvements, sidewalks, storm pipe relocation, and drainage improvements will be required at the development stage under the review and acceptance of the street department. The Planning Commission also recommended approval.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Any comment or question regarding ordinance 52? Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. My concern is that you said sidewalks are required over there, right, for this R6? Are there any oppositions from any of the residents over there?
Yes, we had a gentleman across Cumberland Drive attend our meeting and supply comments. We took a phone comment. You can see it right there after the map in your packet. His concern was about the drainage. He's not opposed to development, but he was opposed to the drainage that's out there. It is not a well-documented issue. The police department has said they've noticed it in the past coming across the street. Again, I think we will have to address that when the pipes start going in the ground and we start talking about where a driveway goes and how they grade the site could actually improve the water flow in that area.
Okay, you say sidewalks are required, and so my question to you is this. In Ward 6, in the area where I live, they built some new homes over there, but there's no new sidewalks been added. So are sidewalks just required in certain neighborhoods or what?
No, the sidewalk's required by the R6. It gets installed when the CO for the house is issued. So if they're under construction, there's not likely going to be the sidewalk in yet, but once they receive their certificate of occupancy, it should be one of the things that the code department has on their checklist.
Okay, well, that's good. But the one on 9th Street is already occupied and has been occupied now for about a month,
Right.
month or two. And it was my understanding that when they build new structure that they're supposed to put the sidewalks down as well. But I noticed in my neighborhood, there have been several establishments or structures built, homes, and no sidewalks have been implemented. And so I'm just wondering why, sidewalks are not implemented in certain neighborhoods, and they are required here. And I've noticed that they've been implemented in other places, in other neighborhoods.
So I'm sure we'll be able to look into that. If you
But
give me,
just let
if
me
you give
see
me the
this.
address and if you email me the
Okay.
address, the code department and us can look into that.
Because there's two on that. Two
Yeah.
on 9th Street.
All right, we'll look.
Okay,
Give me the
thank you.
addresses. Thanks.
Councilperson Allen, you are recognized.
So my question is, it says that we really can't, I guess there can't be any estimates. And that's always one of the first thing I look at. It
Right.
says there's topographical, that's 3 acres and you're looking at R6. How do we say, okay, all this traffic can go, we don't know how many.
Right.
There's no estimate at all. So that's my concern about this one.
It's an odd piece of property. It would be
Right.
hard to lay out, I think, how I would do it versus how someone else might divvy this up. If you look at it here, and I'll put more of maybe we'll have the closer arrow. There we go. The top left side of this property, across from that other R6, there's a few pads you might be able to sneak in right there. Then it falls off a lot. So there's a lot of land in the middle you can't really use because
Okay.
it falls off to Cumberland. You could get quite a few lots, except it's very skinny down here. We have an 80-foot required depth on any lot that's built. So that first lot has to be so many feet from the bottom of the tip of that triangle there to be the first lot. And then you'd be able to put a few more out further out. So laying it out, they're definitely not going to maximize this. Your limiting factor really in this case is the depth and the width of the lot. So 25 to 30 feet wide, 80 feet deep, and they still have to get the 2,500 plus square feet. That's what's going to limit your development on this. I doubt they would run a road up the middle, so it's all going to be just whatever you can fit on the frontage. I think that might be a better question for the applicant next week,
Okay.
or sorry, Thursday.
Okay.
They might and should have probably laid it out so they know what their potential yield is for their investment, but we have not seen a potential layout.
Okay, thank you.
Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. With it being zone C2, you can build apartments with that zoning. Would the topography on here restrict apartments being able to be built there?
I don't think so. You can see where that current building is. It's kind of close to the road. It probably does not meet the current setbacks. But if you put a building a little further back, did a little grading, you could fit several quads or 8 units or so easily on the bottom portion of that property
Okay, thank you.
with its current zoning.
Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one more question. These apartments, are these going to be apartments or homes?
The request is to go to CR6 for homes. What Council Member Streetman was saying is that under the current C2,
Right.
they could build apartments.
Right. And so with this road being built, sidewalks going to be added, I hope. Would this be enough room for the first responders to go down that road or what?
I'm not concerned about Cumberland Drive, the main road on the right side of this picture. Charlotte Street is extremely narrow, and the street department has indicated that improvements will be necessary up to, you got a little bridge there that you're probably not gonna be able to widen, but widening or doing some work up into that bridge.
I just have some concerns about first responders getting in and out. I don't see how the fire truck can turn around in there if there was a fire. How many units are they talking about building?
I don't know. I think that's a fair question for the applicant on Thursday. The topography of this and the unique shape really is going to restrict how many units. You may have a couple on Charlotte Street. Charlotte Street is not a dead end. It is a through street, so that at least the fire department does have that going for them.
I've driven down that street several times and it is very narrow. So I don't know if it would be feasible or beneficial to put too many homes on that street unless we have enough road for our first responders as well as residents who live over there. Thank you.
Any more comment or question regarding ordinance 52? Councilperson Allen, you're
I
recognized.
just have one more question. So there's only gonna be one exit out of the subdivision? At this
If
point?
they access Cumberland Drive, they can only get one access point. So what they'd likely do is, I call it's a frontage road. You go in and split off a shared driveway for up to 10 units. So maybe that's your limiting factor off Cumberland, because our shared driveway only allows 10 units off of one driveway if you build it that way.
And then they could put more entrances on Charlotte?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And that's where the topography really comes in of how many they really could fit there.
Okay.
Any other comment or question regarding ordinance 52? We're now ready for item 2, ordinance 53. Mr. Tyndall, please, sir.
Thank you. This is planning case Z80 2022, the application of Rita Home Builders. This is 0.46 acres, currently zoned R1 and requesting to go to R2A. It is not an extension of the classification. It's a parcel fronting Airport Road, approximately 520 feet east of Airport Road and Cinderella Lane intersection. This is in Council Ward number 1. It's a vacant residential lot, and the applicant's statement is to build 2 new construction homes. I'll go back to this view. Staff talked about this one a lot. This street is a very old subdivision, and you can see across the street to the north, the lots are a little wider. On the south side here, they're a little narrower to the east and a little narrower to the west. But these 3 lots right in the middle have just enough width that they can divide up 2 40 to 45 foot wide lots instead of one 80 to 90 foot lot like it stands. The other lots further up the street, I believe, are 75 feet, is the smaller ones you see. So really, you're just taking what would be a vacant lot with a ranch house and putting 2 conventional lots in its place. I think developers are getting creative, trying to find these old vacant lots or dilapidated houses and trying to put a 2-for-1 on them. You're going to see a lot more of this, I think. Here is Airport Road as you approach the property. There is the property. It has never had a structure on it. And looking Airport Road the other direction, there's the neighboring property and the wooded lot. And the other neighboring property looking back at the wooded lot. There were no department comments or concerns. The school department listed their capacities at the schools listed. Historical estimates would be 2 units. Staff recommends approval. The proposed request is consistent with the land use plan. The request appears to be within character of the surrounding development pattern and mixture of housing types. Adequate infrastructure serves the site and no adverse environmental issues were identified. And the Planning Commission also recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Any comment or question regarding ordinance 53? Seeing none, we're ready for item 3, ordinance 54. Mr. Tyndall, please, sir.
This is Planning Commission case Z81 2022, application of Bryce Powers. Present zoning is C1 and they're requesting to go to R6. This is 0.59 acres. This is a parcel fronting both Vine Street and Cedar Street. Back there, City Council Ward number 6. This does have some history. Back in 2013, this was R3 and requested to go to C1 to build a daycare center. The daycare center was never built. These properties are vacant, and they're requesting to go back and build 3 lots out of this property. 2 on Vine Street, 1 on Cedar Street. I believe I have that right. This is an area that has seen some R6 on the side roads over the past couple of years. And the property's at the back end there. There's one side of the property. And the other street. And the other side of the property. Gas and Water said this will require a water upgrade. Street Department said any extension of Vine Street will be the responsibility of the owner. Sidewalks will be required in front of the houses. No other comments except the school system capacity comments listed. Historical estimates actually could be 5 units. I believe Mr. Power said 3 at the Planning Commission. You can ask him again on Thursday. Planning Commission recommends approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The proposed R6 is not out of character with the surrounding development pattern. Adequate infrastructure serves the site, including other supportive uses such as mass transit, retail in the area. The adopted land use plan indicates it is encouraged to maintain a mixture of housing types, and sidewalks will be required as part of the ordinance. No adverse environmental issues were identified. The Planning Commission also recommended approval.
Thank you, Mr. Tindall. Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. In that area, it's a dead end back there, right?
Yes, it is.
I've been on that road, very narrow. So you say 5 units, are you talking about homes,
Correct.
single-family homes?
R6 single-family homes.
And so now we need to widen that street. So what are we gonna do about that for traffic? Because I already know, I've been up that street several times. I know the people that live over there. And so I know first responders can't get up there. Fire truck can't get up there. So what we gonna do? We got to widen the street.
We received comments from the
Too
fire
narrow.
department that they did not have any concerns with this. And the street department didn't have any concerns with it either.
For real? Are you sure? How long
It's in your packet.
How long ago was that answer?
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago. Okay, well, I was over there just yesterday. And it's very narrow. And I'm telling you, I don't think the fire truck can get up in there. And if you build 5 more homes, and I'm happy that you're doing that. I mean, we need them. But the thing is, we've got to make room. We got to widen the roads. If you're going to put sidewalks over there, it's so narrow, can't but one car go up and down that road. So we really need to look at this. And I know you say you've been over there, but I was over there yesterday, and I know people over there, and it's so narrow. I don't even see how they go up and down that road. That's one car, a one-car lane.
Well, I don't want to speak for the fire department or the street department, but I think the length of the road is something they took into consideration, that it's not a very long dead end. It's quite short to the end of the road there.
Well, I hope the residents know that they need to come speak about this and speak up, because once it's built, there's going to be some problems. And I'm just speaking what I know. Thank you.
Any other comment or question regarding this ordinance? Seeing none, hearing none, we're ready for item 4, ordinance 55. Mr. Tindall, please, sir.
This is not a zoning change. This is a text change to the city zoning ordinance. This was something that was brought to the Planning Commission's attention a couple months ago by the City Code Department and the Board of Zoning Appeals. Without getting too technical, when you subdivide a lot or a subdivision and you use the cluster option in the city, you can build the internal lots of that subdivision down to 6,000 square feet. That means that they're not touching another subdivision. At 6,000 square feet, if you used R1, you can only cover 30% of that property with coverage. We're talking the structure, a pool, a shed, not the driveway, not the walkway. We are talking about porches and things like that. A single story house then could take up only up to approximately 2,000 square feet of that lot, a little under. This was causing some issues where builders were about 33%, 34% lot coverage with just the house foundation, and that's before someone even decided to put a shed or a pool in. So the changes that we went in is we simply just raised the maximum lot coverage for R1 to 40%, which is what R1A and others are, to match the other ones around it. It really is only going to come into account when you use the cluster subdivision. The Board of Zoning Appeals actually granted a blanket coverage for all builders until January, when this could potentially be adopted. While we were in that section of the ordinance, we actually noticed that when the city and the county both adopted these similar ordinances and resolutions back in the day, the cities has some county language in it. For instance, E1A is not a city zone, that's a county zone only. So we removed all E1A references in the chapter and R2A references, because you shouldn't be clustering something that's already that small. And added some other clarifying language in there for the minimum size to never be below 6,000 square feet. I think the ordinance is fairly straightforward. It shows what's existing and what you're going to replace it with. I'll be happy to answer any other questions about this one, but it's answering a code department request.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Councilperson Allen, you're recognized.
Can you tell me about subsection 3.q flag lots? Can you explain that part to me?
Sure. Right now, we have a provision that says you cannot put any flagged lots when you're designing a new clustered subdivision. There's rare instance, a flag lot. Okay, what is a flag lot? A flag lot, so a normal lot, you look right at the house. A flag lot has a tail, and the lot's behind another lot or off into a corner. It's imagine like a flagpole and a flag. So it has a thin piece connecting you to the road, which is just your driveway, and then the house is set back somewhere. We have some rare instances where using one or two flag lots could be beneficial to either get one or two more lots, or maybe avoid building a cul-de-sac or some other public improvement. So we put in the opportunity to build up to 2 per subdivision. That may be just 1% of the total lots. It's probably not going to be even noticeable, but there are rare cases. Our current ordinance says you can't do it. We're going to say you can do it, but only up to 2. So just something we put in there for just a little more flexibility, as some of these lands are a little harder to develop.
Okay, so I guess my question with the flag lots does it matter by size of the subdivision? If you have a 900 subdivision versus a 10 subdivision, that looks different both ways. So is there going to be something that says the limit on the
2 per cluster subdivision. So yeah, if you had a 900 unit subdivision,
you can only have 2.
You have 2.
But if you have a 10 little subdivision, you can only have 2.
10's the smallest you could be to cluster it. You could have up to 2 as well. But there's no sliding scale. But like I said, we've been for years without it. We've seen a couple cases recently where 1 or 2 may have benefited both the public or the developer. I think if I draw it out, it might look a little easier. It's one of those things I think it's
I know what
easier,
you're talking about now. I've seen.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comment or question regarding ordinance 55? Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. The last.
If you could talk into your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. The last, where it says allow staff to clean up the ordinance regarding some county language and remove R2A from the cluster section.
Yes.
Explain what you're talking about. I know what cluster is, but remove it from the cluster section.
Sure. So in the ordinance,
what you're trying to do, go back from 5,000, because we just voted to make R2A 5,000 square feet.
completely
So now we
different
just
thing.
voted, we approved that.
Right.
Okay, so now what are you talking about?
This is only when you use the cluster subdivision option. So it's when developing larger tracts of land, you can't cluster. If it's already zoned R2A, you're just going to develop it as R2A. You can't cluster it any further because the minimum cluster size is 6,000. So you wouldn't want to cluster and have to build bigger lots. You would just use the base zoning that's already there.
But it's not 6,000 anymore. It's 5,000
Correct.
square feet.
But if
You got 6,000.
if you cluster it, it has to be 6,000.
Oh, okay.
It's a whole subset that's only used when you're subdividing large tracts of property, not 1 or 2 lots at a time.
It has to be 6,000.
Correct.
So you couldn't use R2A.
Correct. You should use R2A for the infill of properties, a couple lots at a time.
Okay.
So there was really no reason to have R2A in that section, so we pulled it out. Or recommending that it be deleted.
I just want to make sure I understand this before I vote on it. I need some more education on it.
If you
I would like
want
to
to
come
come
to
and
your
visit
office.
us,
Yeah.
we'll show you some plans on the table.
I
I
would
think
love to
that
do
you'll be
that.
able to see what we're talking about.
Thank you.
Any more comment or question regarding ordinance 55?
I'll
Mr.
also,
Tindall?
I'll also say that this was distributed to the home builders and the engineers list that we have, and we've received no comments. This will require a public hearing on Thursday.
Okay. I
Thank you.
think that completes the Regional Planning Commission report. We're ready for the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, with the voice you have left.
All items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the council may request that an item be removed for separate consideration under the appropriate committee report. Ordinance 9, 2022-23, second reading, was postponed from, actually that doesn't belong there. An ordinance amending the initial code of ordinance of the city of Clarksville, Tennessee, Title 4, Building, Utility, and Housing Codes, Chapter 3, to add new section 4-315, 4-316, and 4-317, establishing an electrical and mechanical board. Ordinance 47, 2022-23, second reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Aon Construction for zone change on property located at the intersection of Riverside Drive and Barker Street from R3, 3-family residential district, to R6, single-family residential district. Ordinance 48, 2022-23, second reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Bill Pollard, Wade Hadley agent, for zone change on property located at the intersection of Dover Road, US Highway 79, and Kelsey Drive from R1, single-family residential district, and C2, general commercial district, to C5, highway and arterial commercial district. Ordinance 49, 2022-23, second reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Yogesh Kumar Patel, and for zone change on property located at the intersection of Trenton Road and Welchwood Drive from R1, single-family residential district, to R2, single-family residential district. Ordinance 50, 2022-23, second reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Universal Exports for zone change on property fronting the western terminus of Pruitt Lane, south of Pruitt Lane, and west of Whitfield Road from AG Agricultural District to R4, multiple family residential district. Resolution 39B, 2022-23, this was postponed from last month, a resolution approving an appointment to the Parking Commission. Resolution 40, 2022-23, a resolution approving appointments to the Audit Committee and Planning Commission, and adoption of minutes from November 3rd, 2022.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilperson Butler, you're recognized.
Mayor, I just kind of have a question. It's more of a point of information. Because we know that 39B 2022-23, the reason that it got postponed is because it was controversial. I was just curious why it stayed on consent.
We put it back on consent. A member can pull it
Thank
on
you.
Thursday evening. Any other comment or question? Seeing none, we're ready for Finance Committee. Chairperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 51, 2022-23, first reading. An ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement and acquire property for a public purpose for expansion of Dixon Park and to swap and convey City of Clarksville property in exchange therefor. Finance Committee recommended approval.
Thank you. Any comment or question regarding this ordinance? Councilperson Marquis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I just have a question to make sure that I understand the transfer that's potentially going to happen. So the city owns the triangle lot, and the resident owns the triangle lot, and the city owns the 2 square lots. According to the appraisal value, one of ours is equal to theirs, but are we throwing in a second one? Or, like, the balance of the swap seems kind of uneven to me.
Well, it is not dollar for dollar. You're right. It's not even. However, the value that we're getting from acquiring that triangle lot from Adam and Jonathan Blick will allow us to construct an almost regulation size practice field for junior pro football And it gives them an opportunity to develop one more lot along Franklin Street and add to their existing property on the upper end near 10th Street. So no, it's not a dollar for dollar swap, but there is value in what we're getting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson Allen, you're recognized.
Can we get some clarification on that swap? Because we had talked about swapping properties before for something else, and it was supposed to be like equal value or something like that. I know we had talked about something maybe a year ago or something.
Okay, I'm not sure.
We talked
What
about
kind of clarification are you
swapping,
looking?
like what does that? As long as it's, because it seems like, to me, looking at it, it seems like one is more than the other.
Well, the value of the two parcels that we're swapping for the one, certainly dollar value, is higher than the one triangle shaped. But there is considerable value that we're attaching to this because it allows us to continue to improve Dixon Park. As you know, we've got money in the budget to resurface probably the most heavily used basketball court in the city, as well as renovate the L&N Depot. And we're using that green space back there for what we hope to be a regulation size, but almost regulation size football field.
So we're looking at the benefit versus
Yeah.
the actual dollar value. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment or question regarding this ordinance? Seeing none. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. We're now ready for the Gas and Water Committee report. Chairperson Red is not here. However, I've asked Mr. Riggins, the General Manager of Gas and Water Department, to come and give us a quick rundown of the training that's required of all council members. Mr. Riggins, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor, council members. For the sake of time and brevity, I've written out my points on the board training. As you know, I like to talk. So I believe all of you received an email from my safety and training coordinator concerning the mandated training for board members who oversee water and or wastewater systems. In a nutshell, the state legislature passed this mandate in 2017. This training consists of education regarding finances, fraud, and many other relative topics. This training is required to be completed within 1 year of being elected, and then 12 hours of training is required every 3 years following that, beginning the January 1st after that initial year, if that makes sense. You may ask, how is the city council considered Gas and Water's board, and then why now, this long after 2017? Well, in short, the city council, or you, act as Gas and Water's board in that you approve our rates. This alone is enough to make you this board that's mandated and invoke this training requirement. Why now and not since 2017? At some point after 2017, I believe an opinion was formed that this body is somehow exempt. I believe that to be incorrect, as does Lance Baker, the city attorney. We've discussed this. Coupled with the fact that we have not received grant funds previously, I don't believe the non-compliance has been an issue up to this point. That said, this year is the first year that the state comptroller's office asked us to confirm compliance with the mandated training, which we could not do. We had to check the box that we are non-compliant. First time ever in our history that we've had to do that. So now they are aware, and basically our opinion, we are on a timeline now. The recourse for non-compliance could be the denial of future grant funds, which, as we all know, can equate to costing the ratepayers quite a bit of money, especially on the heels of being awarded the recent $15 million grant for the dryers at the sewer plant. So the main thing is we want to ensure that we remain compliant and can qualify for these grant funds, that they don't get pulled away from us. And then also future grant funds, as you remember last year at budget time, you want us to go after, and I hired another employee just for that fact. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Any comment or question regarding this? I think we have at least one council member who's completed the training. Two.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Leader in the clubhouse. All right. Councilperson Smith, you have a question for Mr. Riggins?
Thank you, Mr. Riggins.
Yes, ma'am.
I know it's needed. But how many hours is it gonna take us to do this?
It's 12 hours of training.
12 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
We're some busy people. And
I'll
I'm
say
telling
this,
you,
it could be, I'm
I
sorry.
tried to log in 3 times. I had trouble. I have been contacting your secretary clerk. First, I questioned, why do we need to do this? I hear what you said, and I don't have no problem with doing it. It's just that it's too much time from us. We ought to get paid for this. I'm joking, but I'm just joking. But
Don't
no,
go there.
I don't mind doing it. But I'm just saying it's a lot of hours. I mean, how many questions to each? I mean, I'm just
No
serious.
question. There's no
Well, we
quiz.
just
It's
got to
watching
read
the
it.
video. So I'll say this. For one, Gas and Water had no say in this legislature.
I believe.
I'll say this.
I
Also, it could be possible that it's a video that you could turn on while you're
well-
working on other things.
I got
I'm
you.
not saying you don't need to pay attention,
I hear
but
you, Mr.
yeah,
There's no test.
probably shouldn't say.
Okay, all
Okay.
right.
Multitask.
Councilperson Smith has the floor.
Thank you. But I appreciate you. I'm wanting to make sure y'all get that money we need, because we got a complaint from a citizen who's talking about his sewage bill was $75. I'm just riding down the street. Hey, I need to talk to you.
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, So I don't
We-
know. I left you a message to try
We
to help.
spoke with a customer on Clark Street today.
Right,
Everything's worked
exactly.
out.
Thank you.
He,
Thank you so
he
much.
understands where and why now.
Thank
and how.
you. But I'm gonna get it done. Believe me.
And that's it. What I said about the training, I do believe and stand by. It is important training.
Right.
You, as voting on these rates, you do need to know about
Right. Exactly.
the finances, the fraud, the implications of things, the reasons why we are mandated to do what we do with the money as an enterprise fund.
I know you know your stuff. I'm with you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other comment or question? Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep this brief. It's on the department, not necessarily about this. I want to thank you for taking care of the issue that I just reached out to you about in the Ward 10. Thank you for everything that your department does. Y'all are always quick to respond, and I've already been notified that the situation's been resolved. So
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, what's the deadline for the training? One more time. Tomorrow?
End of the calendar, well, that's the deadline we put on it, but it's actual the end of the calendar year.
End of 2022.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Let's get busy. Cancel Christmas. Let's go. Maybe not. All right, never mind. All right, anything else from Mr. Riggins? Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, sir.
Sorry for the loss of your dad. All right, we're now ready for Neighborhood and Community Services Committee. Chairperson Streetman, you're recognized.
I'll have a full report Thursday night.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairperson Holloman.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a full report next week, or Thursday night. Sorry.
Public Safety Committee, Chairperson Holloman.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a full report Thursday night.
Transportation, Streets and Garage Committee, Chairperson Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a report for you on the 1st, which is December the 1st, right?
That's right,
That's right. All right.
2022. Okay. We're now ready for new business. Ordinance 56, 2022-23, an ordinance amending the operating budget for fiscal year 2023 for governmental funds. Ordinance 146, 21-22, to remove funding for the Roxy Regional Theater. Councilperson Richmond, you're the sponsor and you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Council, just the amendment sort of speaks for itself, the ordinance rather. And sure, we're going to have plenty of live discussion. And that's pretty much all I have. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
Any comment or question? Councilperson Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So I talked ad nauseum about this issue in another issue last month. But I think a lot of people think that I sit up here and I like to listen to myself talk. So this time I am not going to say anything myself, but I do want to read some statements from an email we got earlier. Many taxpayers support the premise and functionality of a regional arts center. It has become increasingly more difficult to support the current operations of this facility, referring to the Roxy. Recent allegations levied against their director and subsequent actions of the board bring to light systemic failings that need to be addressed. I feel it's appropriate, and this is the person who wrote the email speaking, for the city to suspend its relationship with the Roxy Regional Theater until these issues are addressed in totality. While the board has chosen to position itself in such a way as to avoid oversight from outside entities, I believe that we should give them what they wish. And at the end of the email, it says, a vote against this ordinance will be interpreted as meaning that Said council member supports the current functioning of the Roxy Regional Theater, its board, its operations, and its current director. And we all know, but this comes from someone who is a respected community leader, someone I respect a lot, and those are his words. Thank you.
Councilperson Marquis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So Clarksville is a fast-growing city. Everybody knows that. There's a lot of projects that we have going on, some more that we also still need to take up. And I just want to let everybody know that on Thursday, I will be bringing forth an amendment to transfer the funds to the street department. Thank you.
Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we've got quite a few here in attendance tonight. So, and I don't know if everybody's going to be able to make it Thursday night. See quite a few respected individuals here. With those of you that are not supporting this amendment, would you, or this change to the budget, would you please stand up? Just wanted everybody here to see the amount of people that are here in support of the Roxy and support the funding that they are receiving. So I'll just leave it at that for right now. Thank you. Thank you all.
Any other comment or question regarding ordinance 56? Seeing none, we will dispense with the discussion item since the Councilperson Reynolds is not here. I will read into the meeting minutes on Thursday, the required report on debt obligations for CDE. Anybody in the audience, we're now at the public comment period of our meeting. Anyone in the audience wish to address the council, you would have 5 minutes. We would ask you to approach. You can talk about anything except zoning. Seeing none? Okay. Yes, please approach.
My name's Kathy Watts.
If you will, get to the mic, give us your name and address, and you have
My
5
name's-
minutes.
Kathy Watts, 348 Hampshire Drive, Clarksville, Tennessee. I'm a lifelong resident. I love theater. I love the Roxy. I'm one of those weird people that likes to perform. I can't talk like this. This just freaks me out, but give me a script. Give me a chance to memorize it. The Roxy does educational theater. They do Shakespeare. I was lucky enough to be in To Kill a Mockingbird a few years ago. We sold out every performance. Every high school in the area came to see this show. I think you're making a big mistake if you cut the funding for the Roxy. $26 million for a parking garage, but not a penny for live theater that enriches our lives, that inspires us. I hope this doesn't happen. That's just what I say. I support live theater, and I hope the Roxy continues, and I hope the city of Clarksville appreciates what it has in the Roxy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Watts. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak to the public, to the council? Commissioner Shelton? If you'll give us your name and address, you have 5 minutes.
My name is David Shelton. I live at 135 West Park Drive. I also serve as County Commissioner for District 21 in Montgomery County. I am, as long as I have grown up here in Clarksville, lived here all my life, and I have experienced through my family the richness that the Roxy has given to us. My sister probably spent 23 of her first 15 years on stage, simply because of all of the time that she'd gone through, all the plays she practiced on, and she gave me that number just because of all the rehearsals, and it seemed like it was longer than it actually was. And now we are hearing things that some people at the Roxy might be a little imperfect. You know what? So am I. And anytime there's a decision that has to be made that's difficult, when we're dealing with employee relations and things of that nature, we all have to take a minute and take a breath. But I very deeply remember how the Roxy has met with its own controversy a couple of years ago, just through accusations that were made then. And to me, I'm hearing some similarities between that from some of the same people, and that concerns me. And what also concerns me is that we want to pull money away from them as a matter of vengeance. And I don't get it. I just don't. We are dealing with an organization that has been working for this community for years. They have had their problems. I have had my own problem. We all have. But to simply yank funding from the entire organization because you disagree with the decision that a board of 21 people made. And that board has had to make these decisions, just like we have 12 people here making decisions on our finances here. So this is not something that happens in a vacuum. And having sat with and talked to members of the board of the Roxy, and I don't necessarily agree with all the decisions, but you know what? They're working hard for our community and to help performing arts be the best that it can be with the level of experience that they have. And taking some of these accusations, putting them on blogs that are out there with other accusations that are all tapped up, it just becomes a big old rumor mill. And I've seen that happen too many times in this community. And I'm just here to say I support the Roxy, I support the current board and the current staff and director because they work hard for all of us. And they work hard for us no matter who we are. And you know what? Things get tense, things get said. Sometimes words, I don't know the situation, I wasn't there. But I do know that every bit of it was discussed by the board in detail, and they had to make a hard decision. So I challenge you to talk with them and to let them understand so that you can better understand what those decisions were. And making decisions based on this just because one side or another has a different grievance on it without having those conversations, I think is irresponsible. And I'm going to stand here in full support for the Roxy. And, oh, by the way, I'm also inviting all of you to a forum down at the plaza for an LGBTQ forum. And we're going to show our community, all of our community, that we have services that we can build and that we can help support some of the most vulnerable people of our society. Thank you for your time and thank you for your service. And I'm glad I'm able to do a little bit of my own. But you know what? We've got to be reasoned with everything we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to address the council? If you'll give us your name and address, you have 5 minutes.
Hey, I'm Kate Goff, and I live at 101 Valley View Circle, Clarksville, Tennessee. I came here, let me give you some background. I came here at 17. I went to Austin Peay State University, graduated from there, and I have bought a house and stuck around since then. So what drew me to Clarksville? Number one, I was 17. I wanted to be within 5 hours of my dad because I graduated high school from Indianapolis, and I also grew up in New York City. So culture is very important to me. And I wanted to be able to walk across campus without needing a car because I didn't have a car when I came. So now obviously I'm a little bit older and a little more able to give back to my community. And I feel like I've been doing that for the last couple of years. I'm usually behind the scenes for a lot of things, so a lot of people don't know me. But my boyfriend and I have been together for 7 years, and our favorite date night is to go to Edward's Steakhouse and then go to the Roxy. It just means so much to us that it's there for us as a community. They do so much for the people in the community. So by taking away the money given to the organization of the Roxy, you're taking away from the community as a whole. Those kids that go there to learn about acting and the theater and the performances, so the people of the community who enjoy it. I mean, it's not taking away just from the people in the Roxy that work for the Roxy. It's taking away from all of us. My dad lives in St. Augustine, Florida. He is flying down to come see some performances up to see performances at the Roxy. I'm going to do my first play January 14th. I will be in the Vagina Monologues at the Roxy, so I'd love to see you guys there. I hope I'm not as nervous as I am now talking on the stage. Sorry, guys, I'll practice. But it just means a lot to me. I had no intention of standing up here, but it's our favorite thing to do. It's my favorite thing to do in Clarksville is to go to the Roxy. We are imperfect. David said it. I am imperfect. I'm sure every one of you has made mistakes, said the wrong thing at one moment. I've probably said the wrong thing 5 times since I've stood up here. Sorry again. But give each other grace. I've had to learn that for myself. Have grace on yourself, have grace on others, pay it forward. I mean, that's the only thing we can do. We all can learn from our mistakes, grow from our mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes. I think that's all we can do, and defunding the Roxy would be just a horrible mistake. It would take away outlet from the community, the youth, me, and the people that love it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goff. Any other member of the public wish to address the council? Jody, if you give us your name and address, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Jody Isaacs. I live at 130 Strawberry Alley, so I am a big part of downtown. I have been here 7 years. A year before that, before moving from Boston and making the choice to choose Clarksville, I received an article for the expansion of the Art Center. I think it was 2015. So this isn't just this moment that we're talking about. And by the way, the Art Center, seeing the picture in the Leaf Chronicle, was our decision, actually, to be on the same street as an active art center. And it has been my honor to then have a more intimate connection with the Roxy, and hoping to get it to that place where it would actually come to fruition, this promise from 2015. And I think many years before that, too. It has been a struggle to get it going. And I think it was said so perfectly earlier by a couple other people as to the actual value that it gives to everyone in this community. And by the way, so many people come from outside of this town to learn about Clarksville through the Roxy. And I think that is such a beautiful thing. The kids come to take classes, people go on date nights, and if we take this away, we are taking away a big part of the heart, the blood flow of our downtown. We bustle when it's quiet everywhere else. It's the foot traffic is because of the Roxy. And we all the small businesses benefit from that. And also in the children running around to go to the Roxy for White Christmas or whatever performance, especially this time of the year. And the movies, there is just so much that goes on there that we need to celebrate. And I would wish that, and I'm be very interested as to how many of this particular grouping attends and participates at the Roxy and puts in and actually sees and feels what goes on there, because that's the heartbreaking part. And in any decision that we make, please let's keep the emotional piece adult, so that we can actually sift through the things maturely and have a personal experience with what it means to have this on our Franklin Street. So I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to address the council? If you would give us your name and address, you have 5 minutes.
Leah Bazarian Green, and don't laugh, I never can remember our address. Okay, 1630 York Road in Clarksville. We just bought the house, so that's why I get messed up. Anyhow, I wasn't thinking of speaking. We retired out here from Los Angeles, and we really thought it out where we wanted to come. And we used to go to shows in LA, and I can't even begin to tell you that we'd have to save up for like 5 months for our tickets to go to Los Angeles to see any shows. And we'd be at, way up there. But it was just the excitement and going out and being entertained and just, again, the whole, you took it all in. It was just beautiful. And for us, my husband was a PE teacher, head wrestling coach for 39 years in California. And then we, like I said, we came here to get a wrestling coach really fired up over anything to do with the arts. It took a while, but he is so in love with the Roxy Theater as I am. And all these people that are a part of the Roxy Theater have been our family. We've been so blessed. We call them our nephews, our family. I mean, it's the arts. We have to keep the arts going. It's so important. In schools, when they took away wood shop and all those kinds of things, that was a loss years ago. But the arts is something we have to all support in any way we can. And it has to come from people, like in your positions, to understand what it means to all of us. And I just thank you for everything. And I hope you can find it in your heart to really know what we're all dealing with this, because it does mean a lot to us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Anyone else in the audience wish to address the council? If you would give us your name and address, you have 5 minutes.
Ryan Bowie, 1701 Marywood Drive, Clarksville, Tennessee. I guess I'm the elephant in the room here, so I will address this council as myself. Did I make mistakes? Absolutely. I think you need to determine what the word allegation means and what actual fact means. The last time that I stood before this council, I prepared a statement to try and get it within 5 minutes. And at that point, this council, or members of it, but I look at you as a whole, not as members of different wards. This council was very frank as to the fact as to what the word diverse meant. And there was an attack on LGBTQIA plus individuals at that point. Since July of 2021, I have once again been under attack as an LGBTQIA plus member of this community, one that is outspoken and one that stands up for what is right. I have received countless death threats in my inbox on Instagram with people holding rifles and showing how many rounds they can shoot to the person that has done X, Y, and Z that are allegations that have not been proven. 2 full investigations were done by this board of directors. We have done and taken countless steps. I will own the mistakes that I made. I own them daily. I want to make mistakes because if I don't make mistakes, I cannot be a better human the next day. But to live in a community where for the first time in 12 years, I am afraid and I am scared for my own safety because allegations have been swirling that have no merit, is not a place that anyone in my community wants to live. So if you want to do something for the countless young people that come through our doors and the countless young people that are finding themselves and finding the place where they can identify as they, them, or she, her, or he, him, or any of their pronouns, but they do not feel safe at home, I think that you need to get your priorities straight. And your priorities must be based on fact. And you have all been given ample opportunity to receive the facts. And if you choose to continue to believe allegations, then that is not something that I can control. But I hope and pray that the Roxy Regional Theater, who is celebrating 40 years and has been through many, many, many ups and downs, will continue for the next 40 years. And we look forward to the partnership with the city of Clarksville as we build a new performing arts center. And we move forward to make this an accepting space for all individuals. And that includes every member of the LGBTQIA plus community. That includes every member of every race, every creed, every religion, every sexual orientation, any of it. That's what we want. That's what we're about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowie. Any other member of the audience wish to address the council? Ms. Turner, if you'd give us your name and address, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Stacy Turner. I live at 163 Copperstone Drive here in Clarksville. I am board chair for Roxy Productions, Roxy Regional Theater, and as such, I am one member of a 21-member board. I am one member of a 4-member executive committee. Sorry. We did a full and complete investigation with regard to these allegations. I sent an email, I actually sent 3 emails out to this council to try to sit down and meet with me about any questions that you may have or any facts that you may be lacking in giving an opinion on this matter. I was lucky enough to sit down with Karen Reynolds. I was lucky enough to sit down with Wanda Allen on one occasion. We tried to get another meeting, but our schedules didn't coincide. I still want to have that meeting with you. I was lucky enough to sit down with Amber Marquis. I was lucky enough to have a phone conversation with Wanda. I had an email conversation with Wanda Smith, a phone conversation with Wallace Redd, email communications with Joe Shekinab, who is our city appointee on the board. One person I did not have any communication with, nor did reach out to me, is councilperson Vondell Richmond. That bothers me greatly that I've given the opportunity to sit down with someone. I'm a trial lawyer by profession. I've been a lawyer for 30 years. We have in my profession, I try cases. I'm in the courtroom 3 days out of 5. We have an allegation, we have a defense, and we have a judge, and we have a trial. If we just go on the allegations, I would be out of a job. You know, we wouldn't seek the truth that way. That is what we do in my profession, is seeking the truth in trials. And the way we do that is we take the allegation, we take the defense, and then we as lawyers present evidence to the judge. Objective evidence, not subjective evidence, which is an allegation, or subjective evidence, which is a defense. Objective evidence, documents, facts, things that either support one narrative or the other. In my profession, there are 3 sides to every story. There is his side, there is her side, and there is the truth, which is generally somewhere in the middle. What we do is give a person due process in my profession. And that is what we, as this 21-member board, afforded Ryan Bowie, was due process. And we came to a conclusion. And there were 2 members that, as per your referendum, 2 members that resigned, 2 members of 21, that is 9%. That means 91% stayed on and agreed. There's 3 lawyers on our board, several doctors on our boards, business people on our boards who all agreed to move forward. And if you do not want to hear the truth, don't make motions. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to address the council? If you would give us your name and address, you have 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Kurt Kowalski. My address is 1721 Marywood here in Clarksville. And I am a member of the Roxy Board. I'm a member of the Executive Committee. I'm also a business owner here in Clarksville, a fairly large business. And I'm not sure how many members of the board own a business or involved in business management, but when you are, there are going to be allegations. When you're managing people, there are allegations. The question is, what do you do with them, and do you have a process to address those allegations? This particular issue at hand happened before we had the funding to hire a full HR staff. But after this, and what we've learned after this investigation, we now have a full HR staff to address and hopefully prevent other issues. How do we prevent? We send our staff to training. We send them to sensitivity training, to intimacy training, and we educate them. So our attempt at this point moving forward is to prevent issues. Now, with this particular allegation, like others have mentioned, we performed a full 360-degree investigation into the process. And I'm somewhat dismayed on the public nature of the process and as it's played out. Like, I don't see HR complaints of the city being played out in public like this has played out at the Roxy. And I feel that privacy has been violated, quite frankly. And if you want to talk, and you guys are all, can be privy to the details of the investigation, but if you want to get into the details of the investigation, then those should be done in closed session for privacy of the members involved. That being said, the investigation that we did, I felt was thorough. I thought it was complete, and I felt we came down to as close to the truth as we could get. Did we make the right decision? I don't know. But the question really is that the board should be, or the council should be asking is, did the board of the Roxy address the allegations? Did we take action? And the answer is yes, we did. We did a full investigation. There's a number of things we did because of this. 1, HR staff. 2, additional training. 3, separation of different jobs and processes and interaction between the full-time staff and the temporary actors. There's many things we did as a result of this to prevent other issues going forward. So that being said, I think the Roxy is a great organization. It does incredible things for the community. I mean, you've heard what people have said. I see 600 and some patients a month typically in my office. And I will say that the Roxy isn't as, interestingly, as popular with the Clarksville native staff or native population, but for the people who move in from out of town, from the West Coast, from Chicago, from the Northeast, those are the folks that are coming to the Roxy a lot and are supporters. So it's a driving population into the town. It's going to be hopefully in the future, continue to be a mainstay of downtown. And really, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to address the council? If you would give us your name and address, you have 5 minutes.
Hello there, Mayor and council people. My name is David Graham. I live at 809 Shelton Circle in Clarksville. I have lived here since 1994, lived, grown, and worked here in town. I've had the pleasure of working at the Roxy since about 2018, off and on, very steadily. It's not something actors can necessarily have guaranteed or even say very often. Even had the pleasure of working with councilperson Richmond, as well as Kathy Watts in To Kill a Mockingbird. Mr. Mayor, I believe you were there, saw the particularly despicable character that I got to be at that time. As has been said, it is not a perfect place. It is not filled with perfect people. It is full of fallible humans, adults and children who get to come through those doors and see the fallible people, the moldable people on that stage. I have a heart that really goes out to children, in particular to teaching through storytelling. I find it's a very effective means. And the Roxy is a place unlike any other in town, really. Even on that street, it's a place where our children in the community can come. And I say that as a father of a child who is reaching teenhood, struggling to find out who they are as a person. I'm a, you can probably tell, white, cisgendered, heterosexual man myself. That makes me somewhat of a minority at the Roxy Theater, which I view as a good thing. We have all kinds of people come through those doors, as I said, and particularly our children who are trying to find out not only the words of Annie, of Tiny Tim, Fern, from Charlotte's Web, but who they are as people, what they wish to do going forward, and we really made that. We struggle to make that. We work continually towards making the Roxy a space where they can come and do that, where they can come away from judgment, make mistakes on stage, make mistakes in their relationships, and I really feel that it's important. As someone who has grown up here, who works here, who lives here now, who has brought my family back here after being away, and so I just thank you so much for your consideration for that. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Anyone else in the audience wish to address the council? Seeing none, the next three items on our agenda are attorney-client privilege, which means we'll excuse the audience. Mr. Baker.
Say one thing, public, please wait. Record, and so I want to just explain what we'll do. I'm going to give a quarterly city attorney update, and we will go over what the pending litigation cases are. I will explain to you what the cases are about. Y'all know most of these cases have been going on for quite some time, and you already know everything about the cases, but I'll go over it. And then you can also answer questions or ask me questions. What you can't do, of course, is deliberate, discuss what we should do about the cases in an attorney-client privilege session. And the mayor, I know, won't allow that, and I can't allow it either. And then the next thing you'll see is the Nicholson versus City. Again, that first item, the 14, that will be attorney-client privilege, where I'll talk to you about that specific case, and you can ask me questions about it. The United States District Court judge has ordered mediation in that case, but you won't be able to deliberate or discuss it or talk about what we should do or offer a settlement, or if we do, what amount it should be. You can't do that in attorney-client privilege session. And then the item 15 is, if we put that on the agenda in case you do want to discuss amongst yourselves what you think should be done in that case, but what you can't do, at least tonight, is to vote on any specific settlement amount if you even think we should offer a settlement. What I would ask you is that if any one of you want to try to get that case settled, please call me, email me, come see me, and we can draft a resolution that we can add to the agenda on Thursday night with a specific number. The point being that if you want the council to vote on a resolution regarding a specific settlement amount, that has to be done in a public session. It has to be put on the agenda. And if there's going to be a debate or any talk or discussion about it, it has to be done in public. So that said, I just wanted to get that on the record.
Okay, to the public, we will cease live streaming. We will be back at the end of this attorney-client privilege meeting to adjourn this meeting, but there is no other further business to be discussed, public business to be discussed at this point. So, Mr. Hollis, if you would, just shut her down. Okay, welcome back to the executive session of the Clarksville City Council of November 29th, 2022. That completes our executive session business, and we are adjourned until Thursday.